Hello everybody, my name is Carp, and this intro was so bad last time that I decided to do it again. Welcome back to Custom Tracks Monthly. This is episode 2 for the second month of the year. Holy shit, it is 7:27 p.m. when you see it. This episode has 11 tracks released this month, including 2 tracks that were not released this month, a CT jam, and a decent amount of retro ports, so let's get right into it. Starting off the beginning of the month, we have Cosmo Garden by JadenMKW and YoshTaku. This is the first custom track released this month, and it was released on February 1st. I think this is a pretty alright track, nothing too overboard, keeping it nice and simple and clean. I definitely see some inspiration from tracks like Cherry Blossom Garden with the texturing and the overall visuals. There's this interesting water section in the middle of the track which it provides a really sharp contrast to everything else that you're driving on. A couple cool strats you can do as well. There's a little shortcut at the end of the lap that I just passed you can take through the wall. There's an Easter egg in that area too actually, but it's not visible in game unfortunately. You can only see it through like no clip or something. You guys should make it visible, I think that'll be neat. There's a nice strat at the beginning of the lap that I'm going to do right now. Unfortunately, you can't really see where you're going to land when you're doing it, and the indication between the out of bounds and the off-road isn't super clear there, so it's kind of a gamble on whether you take it well or not, but you know, sometimes tracks just work like that. Overall, a pretty good track, and I can't wait to see what they make in the future. Next up, we have version 5.0 of EmmanuelBoom's Desk, created by EmmanuelBoom and released on the 4th. I haven't seen any of the previous versions of this track, so I can't really comment on the differences between this and any previous versions, but I will say that this track is very interesting to me. I like when people just sort of express themselves through things like this, making a desk with all the stuff on it, like the custom Pokemon Switch, and the laptop with the track itself open on SketchUp displayed on it. I think that's really cool, and I like to see when authors do stuff like that. The track is also very interesting gameplay wise. It has a lot of interesting strats you can do. There's a turn skip around the middle, and if you miss the turn skip, you can actually turn skip going the other way as well, so it's kind of like a double turn skip. There's also a strat I found where you can launch yourself up onto the switch and spin hop back onto the track, but I'm not sure if this is even intentional because it's really hard to do. Definitely a very interesting track though. Thank you EmmanuelBoom for making this. Coming up next, we have Quag Beach made by ZPL. This track was released on February 8th. This track is pretty much a perfect example of just how good ZPL is getting at making these island theme tracks look so beautiful. This track was initially made as a joke around late January. For those who don't know, Quag's Eye is sort of becoming an in-joke among the community, and ZPL wanted to mess around with custom objects, so he made Quag Beach as a meme track with the custom Quag's Eyes walking around. But as is normal with tracks like this that come from ZPL, he just sort of accidentally made it really good. And now we have this more finished version that he released. There's a bunch of stuff going on here if you look around. There's a giant eel in the sky for some reason, and there's also the amazing Quag cannon at the end of the track. Just in terms of things like colors, I really think this is the best track he's made in this theme so far. I'd personally love to see these really vibrant visuals on things like Divine Paradise, for example. Yet another banger from ZPL in the year 2021, and it definitely won't be his last. We now have this really nice GCN Baby Park remake by Brodelaboy, sorry if I mispronounced that, which was released on Valentine's Day. This takes a step more towards the Mario Kart 8 style of the track, as the entire background of the track is visually slanted, alongside the author adding in those grass cuts on the corners and the small slopes on both sides of the track, as well as changing a lot of the track's overall visuals to match the Mario Kart 8 version closer. I think this port is really interesting because it takes something like Baby Park and it gives it a lot more strategy than it has in its current form. You have the slope on the left hand side that can help vehicles like the Spear and most carts get around the turn if they want to take it a little wide. You have the added grass that lets items play even more of a part in races. But I think most interestingly is the right hand slope that connects the track to those grass patches. I don't think this was intentional by the author, but because of how the slopes like that work in this game, you can actually get just enough air to completely cross the grass with a mechanic called TF inputs, which is where you hold the opposite direction of your drift while midair. The sticky road can get in the way of this sometimes since the entire track is sticky road for some reason, but you can easily remove the sticky road in like 20 seconds with SCS modifier, and the non-sticky version is pretty much a perfect way to practice doing TF inputs, at least on right hand turns. You can play mirror mode for the other side, so it works out. Inadvertently an amazing training track while also being a pretty damn solid remake in its own right. Next up, we have the 2.0 version of 3DS Cheep Lagoon, created by ZPL and released on February 15th. This is definitely a huge step up from the last version of Cheep Lagoon that I saw from him, and we're certainly getting much closer to this track being able to be included in CTGP. This version yet again has really beautiful water visuals, as has been with recent CPL tracks as I mentioned before, and it manages to keep most of the things from the original 3DS version of the track intact, with the tricking on the humps and the clams underwater, and the different ramps you can take inside of the cave. There's not too much to really say about this track since Nintendo kept it pretty simple to begin with, considering it was the second track I think you played in that game. A lot of time went into making sure everything on the track worked similarly to how it did in Mario Kart 7 while still being good to play in Mario Kart Wii, and it certainly came out pretty solidly. Thank you again ZPO for this amazing remake. The 19th edition of the Custom Track Jams took place this month. The theme was Canyon and the results were posted on January 16th. Congratulations to Funky Dude for winning this jam sort of out of nowhere with the amazing Sonoran Canyon. This is the first jam where I was actually part of the voting, and I know there was a lot of discourse about who made this track, and a lot of people were really certain that they knew exactly who made it, but I don't think anyone actually got it right, and I know a lot of people were surprised in the live chat when it premiered when they realized Funky Dude was the one who made it. Absolutely no surprise that he was able to make it though, since he's historically been able to make very impressive tracks, and on top of that I think he's gotten first place in every single CT jam that he's entered to date, if I'm not mistaken. Sonoran Canyon itself is very beautiful. I love the light refraction effect on the outsides like I talked about last month with GBA Yoshi Desert. The layout is very smooth and the visuals are super clean and definitely show off the canyon theme really well. And he was even able to add some custom objects at the end of the track, changing the Grumble Volcano sliding rocks I think to be little wooden ramps that move from left to right. I don't personally understand how people can keep making such incredible tracks in only a few days, but it's always a very welcome sight to see. Congratulations again to Funky Dude on the victory. Not moving on from the jam just yet though, as there's another track from the jam that I want to talk about. This is Constellation Cliffs, which was made by Bugsy. This track doesn't fit the canyon theme at all, really, which is why it didn't win, I assume. But the layout of the track and the overall driving is absolutely beautifully made. It plays very smoothly, and there's a lot of nice cuts and nice strats that you can do. Visually, it kind of feels like a work in progress, and I think the author did mention that he plans to update the visuals a little bit in the future, although my mind is really bad at remembering things, so that might be completely wrong. Assuming he is though, I definitely cannot wait to see this finished, because I think this would be genuinely one of my favorite tracks driving-wise if it ended up in CTGP at some point in the future. Next up is this absolutely beautiful remake of SNES Koopa Beach 1, made by Noia and uploaded on February 18th. God, I am so in love with this remake. The visuals on this are absolutely incredibly done, as has been the case with most of Noia's recent works. This port really embodies the spirit of Koopa Beach 1 by having all the miniature islands stay where they are, and by having the water in between them actually be light off-road, which can be controversial to some people, but I think it personally works really well with KB1's layout. Unfortunately, CTGP can't have any mandatory off-road tracks, so do expect a minor update of this in the future to amend that. This is a genuinely stunning track though, and every single thing is just so well executed. I played this for hours, and I couldn't think of anything other than wow, this is incredible. If you haven't been watching for Noia as an author, then you really need to make sure you get on that, because Noia has been dropping banger after banger as of recent. Thank you so much Noia for making this track happen. Coming up now, we have two tracks that literally weren't made this month. These two tracks were made for the 14th edition of the Custom Track Jam, which took place all the way back around Halloween of 2020, but for some reason they weren't made publicly available on the wiki until this month, and then they were randomly made available this month but counted as tracks that were released this month, I guess? So in the interest of making this video reach past the 10-minute mark, I decided to include both of them anyways. We'll start with the second place because, I mean, really this jam had two winners since both of these tracks were incredibly done. This is Haunted Library, curated by Zatchi. This is another track that just plays so incredibly well and has such great visuals to match it. The library sections are done masterfully, all the driving's incredibly smooth. There are some nice bits with the custom bookshelves coming out of the walls at the end of the track and the grass shortcuts at the end as well. I genuinely think this is one of the best CTs from quote-unquote this year so far, and I really just can't find the words to express how cool it is that this track exists. Thank you Zatchi for making this masterpiece, and I can't wait to see what becomes of it in the future because I really want it in CTGP. The other track from this jam is CT Cemetery, created by riidefi, which ended up being the winner. This track's layout is overall pretty solid, but it's especially nice to play with carts I found. Everything just connects perfectly with itself from the beginning of the lap to the end of it, including all the different shortcuts you can take in the middle. I think personally this track would be a perfect secret track for CTGP. We could throw this in as a memorial to all the things that have been removed over the years. And I wish I had this random idea, I wish there was some way to change the visuals of a track without making it a new SZS, because I think it would be really funny if every time a CTGP update happened, the track names on the tombstone changed to what just got removed. I think that would be great, so if anyone can figure out how to make that work without requiring a full leaderboard reset, let me know. I think the visuals on this track speak for themselves. riidefi, in my head, is pretty much the king of knowing how to make everything look really pretty, so it's no surprise to me that he's able to put something this beautiful out in such a short time. Well done, Ree, and let me know if you ever have any plans to update this. Rounding out the month, barely making it into this video, we have the absolutely stunning N64 Choco Mountain remake created by TacoJosh. This was released on February 28th, and Josh told me himself that he was motivated to get this finished on time so it would bookend my video for this month, which was really nice to hear. This remake is somewhat inspired from the Mario Kart Tour version, obviously excluding the glider section since that would be impossible. Josh, as per usual, absolutely killed it with the track as a whole. This is easily the best version of Choco Mountain we have, both visually and in gameplay. And I'm super excited to see this get into CTGP hopefully very soon. Just looking at the track as a whole, I really can't imagine anyone else being able to make a better version of Choco Mountain for at least the next few years or so, probably even further. This track is just so perfectly done in every single way, and I'm unbelievably happy that we have this now. Infinite thank you to TacoJosh for making this, and I can't wait to see what other projects he has in store for us this year. And that's gonna do it for this month's episode of Custom Tracks Monthly. Thank you all for watching. I'm sorry this took a while to get out. I kind of forgot that I was going to have to make one of these, and also I thought there would be a February 30th for some reason, so I figured I had time, and I didn't. At least I got it done at the end of the day though. Again, thank you all for watching. I recently got affiliated on twitch.tv/carpry. I will leave it in the description. If anyone wants to follow me on Twitch or on Twitter, also carpry, I would gladly appreciate it. I'll be streaming every once in a while. Just normally testing tracks that I think we're going to add to CTGP and, you know, other things if I get around to it. Also, when CT Jams happen, I'll go be reviewing those on Twitch as well. Again, thank you everyone for the support. I was really happy to see the comments on the last one and the feedback that I got from people. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, I guess, if you want to see more of this series in the future, and just to make sure you don't miss any. And that's gonna be it. I'll see you all next month.